Lands of the Shadow Realm, once plagued by war for thousands of years, where deities and demigods led their armies of man and beast into battle for supremacy, and to be rewarded into the eternal planes to become gods and worshipped by all. Firestorms and ash rained down on the scorched lands, the stench of death in the air. Good versus evil, and a stalemate as blood poured into every crevice of the ground. As masters fell one by one, and armies declined, only three remained. Laird, demigod of earth and air, Enyod, brother of Laird, and demigod of space, and Cthulhu, demigod of the dark seas. There were many others, but these three were the most powerful of them all. The brothers fought valiantly together, and claimed victory while Cthulhu hid in the deeps, letting the two brothers rage battles against others, and waiting for the moment until only the three remained. The time had come where the three would meet on the battlefield, where their fate would decide who would be rewarded, and who remains mortal. Opened in the kingdom of Bleffin, where land meets sea, Cthulhu summoning tidal waves and serpent demons towards the brothers. Laird and Enyod counterattacked with meteors, fireballs, and burning rock. It was a battle storm like no other. Cthulhu was no match against the two brothers, and retreated back into the sea of tears. Defeated, broken, dying from the wounds, Cthulhu was no more. Laird and his brother would claim victory, and become gods of the Shadow Realm, and evil was finally defeated. So it seemed.
The Kingdom of Bleffin, a land of wealth and prosperity, located off the shores of the Sea of Tears. The borders of the land are surrounded by impassable snow-capped mountains as far as the eye can see to the north. To the west, lush rolling hills and grasslands, and heavily forested areas to the south, while the eastern border looks out to the sea. The city-state of Bleffin is the jewel of all the kingdoms and is a coastal stronghold and major port for trade with the surrounding kingdoms of the lands. Rich in precious metals and bountiful crops that bless the land, and an army of men and warships dominating land and sea compared to no other kingdom in the Shadow Realm. Peace and prosperity has reigned over the lands for hundreds of years after the Great War of the Gods, and put an end to the rivalry of good versus evil, where good had finally claimed victory after years of war. Laird and Enyod now worshipped and immortalized throughout the kingdom with temples and monuments. Laird was the greater god of the two, with a majestic temple built inside the city-state of the invincible Overlord, and a high tower so tall that it could be seen for miles. Clerics and paladins who serve Laird dwell in the temple, and serve for the name of their god. Every season of the harvest moon, the firstborn on that day are taken away from their mothers and raised to serve their god. Born into warfare and never knowing anything else, King Bastian was ruler at the time. A ruthless middle-aged overlord filled with greed and cared nothing of his people, and only cared of his wealth and power, his women, and wine. taxing his people, leaving them hungry and starving on the streets to die from his own greed. And if his people cannot or do not pay, he has them hanged in the city square for all to see, and put despair into their hearts, making them love and fear the king at the same time. Other kingdoms were not fond of him as well, but turned a blind eye, as profits were the priority for all the kingdoms.
Today, we will reap their empire from their death hands. There will be great sacrifice. There will be death, but we will be victorious!
Rumors began to swirl about a barbarian king gathering an army of clansmen and monsters south of the Blethyn kingdom inside the wastelands. These lands were formerly the ancient dwarven kingdom of Blackstone. Thousands of years old, abandoned by the dwarfs after mining the mountains were no longer profitable and relocated into the Iron Mountains. Angor, the barbarian king, and his clansmen were driven out of the savage lands by the Blethyn kingdom. Now seeking revenge on King Bastien, he hides inside the wastelands after being defeated, rallying barbarian clans. Eventually he was captured by Cthulhu, who came out of the shadows of the sea, promising Angor vengeance and victory if they join forces. Now Angor had the advantage. With Cthulhu on his side, he was able to unite with not only other tribesmen, but orcs, goblins, trolls, and other various evil monsters. The wastelands were now in the hands of Angor, renaming it the Valleys of Cthulhu. He also gave Angor the power of dark magic, and the ability to learn and cast powerful spells. But with that came a price. As Angor became more powerful, he would become mutated and disfigured. King Bastien was informed about the rise of Angor, but dismissed them as nothing but lies. But evidence proved him wrong. Barbarian clans began raiding villages south of the Blethyn kingdom, burning them to the ground, killing men, women, children, and sparing no lives, only leaving the banner of Cthulhu behind as evidence. As King Bastien began receiving more reports by his advisors of the slaughters at the hands of Angor's followers, he finally became convinced that Angor was on the rise, and began shoring up his army along the southern borders of Blethyn, putting his forces on high alert.
Storm clouds gather.
Bastien also began sending word to the other kingdoms of the Shadowlands, but they refused the king's call for help. Now realizing that this was his fight alone, he would summon council meetings to plan his next steps, coming to the conclusion that he would need to get into the valleys of Cthulhu and eliminate Angor before he invades Blethyn. One of his trusted advisors told King Bastien about a group of brave adventurers traveling the surrounding lands in search of wealth and killing evil along the way, led by a warrior simply named Ty, once a valiant paladin of the Temple Vale. He renounced his allegiance to the king, but kept his pledge to serve Laird and the Temple Vale. A fallen paladin roaming the countryside, stealing and killing with no real purpose in life. Bastien was advised to find this group and hire them as mercenaries to kill Angor. Word was sent out to his men to find him and bring them to the king. Eventually, when the group was found, they were brought to the king, and a deal was struck promising them treasure beyond their wildest dreams, to go into the valleys of Cthulhu and bring back Angor's head. Ty was more than happy to accept and take on the quest, even though he had differences with the king. The reward was fulfilling enough. A plan was forged to send the party by merchant ship and drop the adventurers off at the eastern shores of the valley, and would enter in the shadow of the night, unseen, where the ship would wait upon their return, scaling a steep, jagged waterfall hundreds of feet high. After the long climb, they eventually make it to the top unscathed. Ty was relatively familiar with the area, as he's been there before Angel claimed the lands as his. To the adventurers' astonishment, they see tens of thousands of Angol's army preparing for war. Not knowing where to find Angol or what their next step is, Ty leads the group to an ancient dwarven ruin as cover. And as it seems safe to move on, they search the area for any evidence that may help them move forward in the right direction. They advance slowly, weapons drawn. The henchmen seem uneasy. The stench of evil lingers in the air. Never has Ty ever sensed his party like this, until now. When the fight is over, one of their enemies escape. They are no longer under the cloak of darkness. Angol will surely know now that they have entered into his lands. Time is now of the essence. Ty's party lose 2 henchmen during the fight. They heal the wounded with healing potions, and they move forward. After much deliberation, he convinces the group to go underground where he believes Angol may be hiding. Him, along with his trusted companion Ariel and his hired henchmen, broke down into the festering ruins. Now they've entered into the bowels of Cthulhu. Once a majestic underground dwarven kingdom, now reduced to crumbling dungeons, where evil dwells. Foul demons lurk, and nothing comes out alive.